Hello, my name is Odessa Esco, and this is Commonly Confused English. Today's video is about the two commonly confused question expressions, what can I do, and what can you do? Now I said question expressions because these sentences are question sentences, but like many other questions in English, they can also be used and have an expressive form. We know expressions and sayings are literal words that have different meanings sometimes. And that's the case with these two questions that are also expressions and commonly confused. Let's start by identifying when these question expressions are questions and when they become a little bit more than that and become more of an expression or a saying. I think tone has a lot of components mixed into it, but for simplicity and honestly how I think of tone, I separate it into two categories. One, what is actually being said, the vocabulary and how it's being said with the pitch. Is your voice going up or is your voice going down? Secondly, we have body language or lack thereof. So are you moving your hands around? Are you very still? Are you looking down? Are you kind of covering your face? Combining the vocabulary and the pitch of your voice and your body language, all that together creates tone. Now, of course, there are some things like colloquialisms that have their own pre-packed tone, but for the most part, tone is something you put into your sentences. And that's why these question expressions can be easily identified because they're not said the same when they're a question and they're not said the same when they're an expression. A lot of us are familiar with the question tone. Your voice just goes up at the end. How are you? Would you like me to help you? My voice kind of goes up a little bit at the end. Another way to identify a question is being asked is by our body language. Usually if you ask a question, you're gonna want a response. So you kind of have that question face on your face, like waiting for the response. It'll look something like, have you seen my last video? Like waiting for the response. Whereas a non-question would be like, a non-question would be like, what do you think you're doing? No, what do you think you're doing? And that you can see, it's more accusatory, of course, with my voice, but also with my face. It's not right and waiting. I'm not really asking you a question. I'm really asking you, why? Why do you think you can do that to me? I'm not the one to try that with. Like, what are you doing? You can see that I'm not asking, what are you doing? I'm asking so much more. Clearly here, we've gone into the expression side of our question. So now we know how to differentiate between a question when it's just being a regular question and a question when it's being a little bit more. It's being a saying, an expression. It's not really a question. It's more to like represent what's going on. Sometimes people will ask questions to keep the conversation going. For example, wouldn't we all like to be millionaires? That's something someone might say when they're talking about the general consensus of having an easy, happy life. It can be assumed if you have $1 million or you're a millionaire, you're having a happy life. So whatever they're talking about, that person is not actually posing the question, like, wouldn't we all like to be millionaires? It goes without saying. It's just to kind of add to the conversation and the agreement of whatever they're talking about. Clearly, it's about quality of life and money. So that's an example of a question, not really used as a question. It's used for an expression. It's used for the rhetoric, like the tone of the overall conversation. Now let's talk about what can I do and what can you do? We know how to make both of these questions a question or more of a statement or an expression. We're gonna do that with our tone, of course. So let's practice with what can I do? I'll say it as a question. What can I do? Now let's practice it as an expression. I don't know, like it just seems very complicated. Like, what can I do? Really? There's not that much, so I'm just gonna do the best I can. You can see in that sentence and those sentences, I ask the question, what can I do? But I don't ask it as a question. You can tell by my body language and how I'm speaking that I'm more so considering my options and genuinely just coming to a conclusion, like there might not be anything I can do, like my car blew up. What can I do? Like your car is blown up. What can you do? For real. Now let's practice with what can you do? Let's say we're all in a circle and we're giving our skills for a group project. Somebody might say, hey, what can you do? That is a question. What can you do? My voice goes up. I'm looking, waiting for a response. Very clear. Then we have what can you do as a statement kind of expression thing. Let's say my favorite women's basketball team has just been pushed out of the playoffs. And it was by a really good team. It wasn't any foul play by the referee or the players. It was a fair game. They just happened to lose. That happens in life, right? I might say something like, my girls are out. But what can you do? And that way, I'm kind of saying it as an expression of acceptance, accepting an unfavorable reality, but nothing too dramatic. You wouldn't say something like, Palestine and Congo and Sudan really need our attention. We're literally letting children and women and men die for the comfort of the West. Somebody could say, what can you do? And they would be a complete and total a-hole. Because that's not a time you say, oh, what can you do? It's not a casual acceptance. That's not something you would casually accept or casually respond to. So in that case, it is correct as a statement and as an expression, but it wouldn't be good for that situation. It's really easy to see how people mix up what can I do and what can you do. It's a really, really fine line. They're only one word off. What can I do? What can you do? The differentiating factor in when to use these sentences, whether it's a question or whether it's an expression, all depends on if you're talking about something subjectively or objectively. Now, something that is subjective is able to be perceived through your own opinion and your own kind of perspective. It's up to you to decide kind of how you feel about it, and that's okay. Objective is more of general opinions and facts. It's not necessarily about you, and you might not necessarily align with this objective truth or objective opinion. You use what can I do with subjective cases. If somebody is asking you about your opinion or things you have to do, you would say, what can I do? As the question. Or that's a lot, like, what can I do? As an expression of frustration, it's about you. Like you're looking at the situation subjectively. It might also be objective, but you're all about you right now. You're not caring if it matches with objective or not. You know for sure it's subjective. It's about your opinion. Objective is when you would use what can you do? And the you in this isn't talking about anybody specifically near you. It's talking about the you as the community of commonality or the community of where you're a part of, right? So what can you do? I would be referring to general people and general actions around Canada and what would be appropriate for certain responses or certain reactions. For example, if I'm running late for work and my car's not working, I don't have time to take the public transit, I might call my boss and I will say, hey, like my car just isn't working. I don't have time to get into my shift. I'm so sorry. I called another waitress or whatever your job is. They said they're gonna come in for me and then I'll come in late. I'm so sorry. Your boss might say, hey, no problem. What can you do? Notice I said, yeah, check the Google Docs link for more notes on that. But your boss might say, it's all right. What can you do? Get here when you can. I understand. Sometimes things happen. That is a really nice boss. First of all, I'm not saying I should rule the world or anything, but I would be a really nice boss. And secondly, that's about like the general actions that one can do. Like what else could anybody do in that situation? Your car is not working. You cannot make it on time with public transportation. You covered your shift. You were very responsible. You kind of did everything you could do to make the situation better. After that, it's the universe's plan. What can you do? I'm just gonna go over the key points. What can I do and what can you do are very similar. They're both question expressions. They can be used as a question. They can be used as an expression. You can look at my Google Docs that's linked in my channel bio, my channel description, to click on my link tree to find the Google Docs that will have the written version of this video with more examples. When something is your opinion and you're talking about what you can do and it's about you, you're gonna use what can I do as a question or expression. It's subjective. And then if you're talking and you're thinking more general, like what could anybody do in this situation? That's when you get into the what can you do? That's all we have time for. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know about any other topics or categories of life you'd like me to start talking about. I will be expanding my page into more topics. I'm focusing on commonly confused English, of course, always, but I do want to expand into different just life categories as an English speaker, whether you're a native or you're a learner. I want to look at some interesting aspects of the English language that you want to hear about. So type in the comments down below and I'll see you in my next video. Stay cute. Bye.